Good morning. This is Sheridan Circle in Washington, D.C. It is on Massachusetts Avenue and let me see which street. I think 23rd Street, Massachusetts Avenue, R Street, all converge around this circle. This is a place where many of the historic buildings have been preserved. Several of them are now embassies or residences for ambassadors. And we'll take a quick trip around one block. Last week we looked at block 2512. And this week we're looking at block 2516, straight ahead. We've got the beautiful morning sunshine today. So let's take a walk. We'll start right here. And I'm actually on the circle right now. We'll stay across the street to get a really good view of the entire structures. And then we'll zoom in a little bit on some of the features. It is 7:28 here, East Coast time. Perfect time to take photos because a little bit less traffic and beautiful lighting on a sunny day. This first structure here, this is number 2353 R Street. This was built in 1904. And what you'll see as we walk around this block and take a look at some of the other structures is, for the most part, a different style for each building. And that's great when walking around Washington, D.C. This building here, again, built in 1904. This is the current residence of the ambassador from the Philippines here in Washington, D.C. This more ornate structure on the corner used to be the Embassy of Egypt, but it's now the residence of the ambassador from Egypt. This building is 2301 Massachusetts Avenue, and it was built, excuse me, it was begun in 1907. It was completed in 1909. Hello, Mark. I'm glad you could join us. Yeah, we'll take another closer look at all these structures. I'm going to start out by going across the street so we can see the entire structure, and then we'll get closer so we can see some of the more the features. So this is 2301 Massachusetts Avenue in Washington, D.C. Take a little look up the street. Massachusetts Avenue during the Gilded Age was Millionaire's Row. Always construction here in Washington, D.C. was Millionaire's Row. So all of those who became wealthy during and after the Industrial Revolution built these grand mansions here in Washington, D.C. and in New York. And you could see in the mini-series or the series, The Gilded Age, you could see the competition between the old money and the new money. And here, while all these buildings were some of them still under construction. The Great Depression happened in 1929. Many families could no longer maintain multiple residences. You know, they had their home in the country and their home in the city and their home in New York. And they would have fallen into disrepair if it weren't for things like professional clubs and the foreign missions that came into Washington, D.C. that took over these residences. This one, it's also known as the Joseph Beale House, named for the original owner. And the style is a Romanesque revival, as you can see, clearly with the pillars and the dental work at the top. And this is on the National Register of Historic Places. This area is a designated historic area. This is the Sheridan Kalorama area of Washington, D.C. And many of the structures we'll look at today are part of the historic district, and some of them are designated historic places and buildings on their own. Now this next little set here, I know I overuse this term, but this next little set here is my favorite. As you can already see, the French influence, that Second Empire influence in the characteristic roof line, the mansard roofs. But let's look at this first one here. And this is 2305 Massachusetts Avenue. Let me get a better look here. 2305 Massachusetts Avenue. This is the residence of the ambassador from Chile. And it has all the features I absolutely love. It has a balcony. It has a nice little, very small courtyard, a driveway in front. It has detail work around the windows. And the small awning over the entranceway is absolutely beautiful. This was designed and built by Nathan Wyatt, an architect that has many examples remaining here today and preserved in Washington, D.C. And next, we have 2311 Massachusetts Avenue. Now, you'll see these two buildings are adjoined, but let's focus on this first part here. This is called the Gibson Fainstock building. Gibson Fainstock was a financier who built this home in 1909 and 1910. It was then sold to the government of China in 1943. It is currently the Embassy of Haiti. And it's absolutely beautiful. Again, the mansard roof, the work around the windows, the small railings in front of the windows, and that awning. Although this is considered Second Empire architecture, that awning has a deco kind of Beaux-Arts feel to it, Art Nouveau feel, I should say. We'll take a closer look when we cross the street. And then the structure continues. I'm going to be very careful how I walk today. I always say I'm going to fall on stream. I won't today because I fell right before the stream. I missed a hole in the sidewalk, as I often do, and I went down hard. Let me back up and let's get a kind of look at the total structure here. Good morning. Hello, sad Bears fan. Good morning. Yeah, this is an absolute beauty. I wish the sun were just a little higher in the sky, but then we run the risk of shooting into the sun, so there's Never a perfect sunlight situation here. Now I'm going to wait and be extraordinarily careful crossing this street. We'll walk around the block and then we'll come back and get a little closer to these structures. So we're here on Where's This Witch Country? Hi, I'm in Washington, D.C. We're taking a look at the architecture around Sheridan Circle in Northwest Washington, D.C. Many of these homes built during the Gilded Age fell into disrepair after the Great Depression and then were rescued through historic preservation efforts. So we're going to take a right on Decatur Place. And I am going to cross the street again so we can get a better look. Yeah, I'll make sure I say hi to him. I swung by the White House the other day, actually. There's still construction around the White House. When the inauguration happened, and the inaugural parade that actually didn't happen because of the cold, they had built all these grandstands for the parade, and they're still being deconstructed. There are huge construction cranes everywhere. Highlander, hi! I'm glad you got a chance to drop in. So Highlander, you know how I always say I'm going to fall on stream? Well, I didn't fall on stream, but boy, I fell right before this stream. Pretty hard too. So my hand is a mess. May have broken a rib. We'll see. Oh, don't laugh. It hurts to laugh. But this is the back side of 2311 Massachusetts Avenue. It's the back of the Gibson Fainstock mansion. And you can see all the detail around these windows. Built in 1909 and 1910. I know, but now I feel the curse is lifted. You know, maybe it'll still happen on stream someday. But yeah, I was walking across DuPont Circle, not looking down. And yeah, it was a kind of a bump and a hole. And everything went into slow motion, as you do when you're falling. Tried to make sure I didn't come down on my wrist. Came down on my, kind of on the side of my arm. So, oh well, we'll survive. This little teeny tiny structure here that we can see, we're on Decatur Place, which is just off of Massachusetts Avenue. This little structure was built in 1929 as an add-on to a building on the other side. So it's an add-on to a building down there on R Street. Cute little building being used as a garage today. But that is a historic structure. An historic structure. Now I talk about Washington, D.C. being an easy city to walk. But let me turn your attention to the terrace behind me. This is a hilly part of Washington, D.C. This is the Sheridan area, kind of on the south side of what would be called Kalorama. And there are some hills here. And you'll see a very scary staircase here that there is no way I'm going up that steep staircase. And window boxes and terraces to try to prevent the runoff here into the street. But yeah, there are a few areas of Washington, D.C., obviously Capitol Hill for obvious reasons, and this area. So this is a more moderate walk. So you want to get your exercise here. Now, we are still on Decatur Place. Excuse the sound of paper. And this is, these were built in 1962. So kind of a little mini duplex here, built in 1962. And I do want to get close here. There's not as much traffic on Decatur Place as there generally is on our street to the south. But just taking a look at a few of the features. The complementary green and red shutters and matching gates, and the pediments at the top of these columns. Urns up there and pooches up here. Very nice. Very nice. Now this block of townhomes you might think are more modern, but they're not. This entire row was built in 1904 as apartments, row houses, still being used in that way today. And so I think it's wonderful where we have, I always talk about the mix of architecture from house to house to house is kind of appealing. Exactly, Highlander, where you have similar structures, right? This was all built in a row. All of these homes are identical, but they're all painted differently. So it just gives that variety. So you have beige and white and taupe and bare brick, blue, green, kind of a yellow, and then back to the taupe color. That's a wonderful way to set off the, the different houses where you have exactly the same architectural style. And I think that works really well in many cities. Now we're back here to another 1929 structure, and I wonder, because we saw that other little garage structure built in 1929, perhaps built by the same architect, but definitely built in the same year. Just a little structure. And then this cutie over here, 1924, in a, would we call this Tudor style in Washington, D.C.? This is a very well-maintained home. The residents obviously have honored the architecture. The nice little driveway in front, beautiful windows. This is really a hidden gem. I think it's unexpected here in this area. Again, this one built in 1924. Now these two, which actually, so we have two homes here, but if you take a step back, I'm going to try to get back as far as I can. You can probably see, two identical homes. Again, not identical actually. If you look up at the top, you'll see the top floors are different. This one on the right is more square. This one is hexagonal. Both of these built in 1898. And it's lovely to say good morning and get a wave from a driver instead of somebody rolling their eyes at me when I'm in the middle of the street. So that's a nice person. Now we're at the corner here of Decatur Place and 22nd Street. And just take a look at the features of this house with this entrance on Decatur Place, but actually you'll see as we turn the corner that this is an entire row of houses built on 22nd Street. But we're going to take a short detour because last week I shared with you the restored fire call boxes in this area. And we have a really nice example across the street. So we're going to take just a short detour to look at a call box. And just north of this intersection are the Spanish Steps. So I mentioned how hilly this area is. And this is the better way to walk south than those rickety wooden stairs that I showed you a few minutes ago. But let's take a look at these call boxes. I mentioned that these were used, fire call boxes, police call boxes. early in our nation's history. And they're really great examples of, cast iron. When they're well maintained, they're beautiful. And so this neighborhood decided to install artwork in these call boxes. And if you look, I've shown other ones where there's like a painting. This is a sculpture. This is a beautiful sculpture honoring early firefighting. That's an early fire truck there. It's a 3D sculpture. Well, obviously sculpture is 3D. That was silly. It's a beautiful sculpture. I'm going to be careful walking backwards so I don't fall again. And this one's at the corner of Decatur Place and 22nd Street. So if you're in Washington, D.C., go on a firebox safari. Most of them on the back include a description of the artwork, but here, because it's 3D and there is no back, the description here. And this key has the locations of the call boxes. So this is in a way a little cheat, or it's a way to start your adventure here so that you can find all the call boxes on this map. Pretty cool stuff. I'll also give you a little inside information. Somewhere on this map is the home of former President Barack Obama. It's not listed on the map. It's not called out, but I know where it is. And if you walk around these neighborhoods, you'll know which house it is as well. There's an obvious indicator of where former President Obama lives. And then here's another one. And this one's showing a police officer using a police call box, which is, I'm guessing, what this was. Now, in Baltimore, where I grew up, the police call boxes were blue and the fire call boxes were red. I'm assuming maybe that was here, but these are all painted red and gold. And really fantastic. All right, let's get back over to the block we were looking at. So as I mentioned, when we were turning the corner, that we would see a stretch of houses that were built as a block. So these are these first 4 in this row. No, actually all of them. Okay, so including that house just before the alley, were all built in 1898, like the 2 around the corner that we saw. So the last 2 we looked at, and you can see the alternating design of the rectangular window bays and the hexagonal window bays. Alternating design, just like around the corner. And again, where they alternate the paint motifs, it really makes them look like individually built homes. But this was built as a block. And we also have a little library here. That's another feature to look out for when you're in Washington, D.C. We have little libraries to borrow and loan books. I'm being extra careful right now. Going downhill. No, it's not raining, Highlander. Actually, it's about almost 50 degrees. I do have a jacket on, but no gloves today. When the sun is peeking through the clouds, it's quite beautiful. When I started this video on Sheridan Circle, I did have some really good sunlight, but it's back through the clouds again. And now, if you checked out the video last week, you'll recognize some of these structures because this is the block I looked at last week. So we've just gone 1 block north. All right, well now we're in the stretch where we can also have a little flag safari as well. And this is the building we looked at last week. This was built in 1906. I have never seen it occupied in all the years I've explored around this area. It's always been under partial construction. And I wonder if it is a huge structure, right? So whoever takes it on, and because it is in a historic area, a designated historic area, there are rules. So whoever takes on this structure has a really big job ahead of them. because this is a big structure. And as we saw last week, there's a sign here that says it's going to be developed into a residence. It'll take a while. Tomby, hi, good morning. Thank you for joining. I know I started even earlier today. It was just such a nice day. But now we're looking back up. We're looking back up 22nd Street up to the Spanish Steps. This is a hilly part of Washington, D.C. I would call it a moderate urban hike. And look up and look down. Tomby and Ben, I had my tumble that I said I was going to have. It wasn't on stream. Right before stream, I fell hard, really hard. Luckily, I didn't hit my wrist. I kind of hit my arm. I was trying not to, you go in slow-mo, and the last thing you want to do is put your wrist down and break a wrist. But this house was built in 1906. Hi, good morning. This one was built in 1906. I don't know if you're a local, but I've never actually seen this one occupied, but it looks like it will be developed into residences soon.
Well, it was Pakistan. It was Pakistan.
That was Pakistan? Okay.
So I didn't realize that they're actually finally doing something with it.
It looks like they're finally doing something with it. So we'll look forward to seeing it get developed.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Have a great day. And now, if you're on Flag Safari today, this is a really nice stretch. And the sun is sort of peeking out. So here we're going to see a number of flags. We did look at this block a little bit last week, because last week we were across the street here documenting. I know, Tomby, it was, when you start to fall and you go in slow-mo and you try to think, okay, how am I going to fall? And I just kind of fell just face first. So mostly on my chest and my arm. And I'm okay. But it's the thing, I keep telling everybody, look up, look down, because of these sidewalks are not too bad in this area. This is a well-to-do area, so the sidewalks are better maintained. But I started off at DuPont Circle. And that's where I met my doom. All right. This is the residence of residence, or is this the embassy? This is the embassy, I believe, of Cypress. Okay, we're going to check the sign. But this belongs to Cypress. This was built in 1891. And as you can see, the style is quite different from some of the other styles. On the other side of this block, we saw a Tudor. This one I'm going to... I'm still learning all my styles because there are so many. This has a very English feel to it. So I'm not exactly sure the style. But I love this one. Absolutely love this. Yes, this is the Embassy of Cypress. The Embassy of Cypress. I can see the sign. Now, next door, we have a series of homes, originally residences. Now, it looks like all one building, right? Because the stucco work, the roof line, everything's in line. The awnings are identical, but they were built individually and in different years. So this first structure, built in 1908, and again, when you kind of mix the brickwork with the stucco, different roof materials. But one of the unifying themes of this entire area is these awning ways that have a sort of Art Nouveau feel to them. It's probably not. I'm probably incorrect. I haven't pulled all the architectural notes. I've just pulled some of the basics about these structures. But you'll see while these buildings are unified in theme and design, they are each very different. So this building has the square, rectangular windows. And the building next door has the rounded windows. So this one, 2221, was built in 1908. And this is, we'll get a little closer so we can get a nice look at the flag. This is Flag Safari. So this is the residence of the ambassador from Serbia. Ooh, and the sun's coming out, so we can get a closer look at the flag of Cypress over here. It's architecture, it's flags. Nice. And that's a really good view of the flag from Serbia. Wonderful. I know, Granny's fracture. Yeah. It's not the hip. It's not the hip. Now I'm going to go back across the street. I know I'm going to kind of ping pong across the street so that we can get the wide angle view of these buildings, as well as some of the close-up features. So while I'm on this side of the street, because there is a lot of traffic on our street, we'll get a close-up of the flag of Myanmar. This is the residence of the ambassador from Myanmar. The windows here are the rounded windows, but take a look at that awning. There's such a deco feel to it. Absolutely beautiful. All right, let's head across the street again. Yeah, I joke about getting hit by a car. Let's hope that doesn't happen. And then you can't turn around without finding an embassy or a residence. This is the alley we walked down last weekend, and the embassy from Guatemala. So here's a wider view of the residence of the ambassador from Myanmar. And then on the corner, again with that same beautiful distinctive awning, and this one with some gold leaf work on it. This is the Embassy of Armenia. And this one was built in 1909. And by the way, this, the residence of the ambassador from Myanmar, was built in 1907. So these three buildings, 1908, 1907, 1909. But all unified with that stucco exterior. All right, we're coming to the end. We're getting close to where we started. And I just want to thank everyone for joining today. Formerly Burma, yes. So there is still signage, so directly behind. So we walked around the back. The next block up, like another block up, and one block to the east, is the Embassy of Myanmar / Burma, and all the different signs have all the different, both names. So this one, and it is unfortunate in many cities like Washington, D.C., the trash bins have to be up front. I grew up in Baltimore. Our bins were in the back. We had big alleys in Baltimore, so the bins go in the back. So you might be able to guess this one. This is the Embassy of Kenya at 2249 R Street. Now this part of the building, I'm sorry you're hearing my papers because I have my notes. This part of the building here, built in 1937, so this was the more recent add-on. But this primary structure was built in 1908 and has all those features I love. The railing work in front of the windows, that beautiful awning over the doorway, great flags. We're gonna let this gentleman pass us by before I continue. Great flags and some beautiful artwork. Harambee, some beautiful artwork. Several years ago during the embassy open houses, I have a really great picture of my daughter when she was about 3 standing in front of the Harambee shield, which is great. May is usually the time for the annual embassy open house. So almost all of the embassies in Washington, D.C. open their doors to visitors during one weekend in May. I will get the dates and share that in a future video. If you're in the area, Tommy, if you're around for the days of the embassy open houses, you probably wouldn't want to go just because it would take out from your touring time, because it's often standing in line. But you go from embassy to embassy and you are treated to the music, the food, the fashion, the culture of each of those countries represented. And it's an absolutely exhausting day, but it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. These streets are just filled with live music and food, and it's a great time. Now, let's go on to the Embassy of Vietnam. In this building, this is, as you can see, it looks like it's attached. It's not. This one was built in 1906. So this one was built in 1908. This building in 1906. So this was here first, and is now the Embassy of Vietnam. And we're going to end where we started, but we're going to take a much closer look here at the residence of the ambassador from the Philippines. And there's some historic information. I won't read all of it, I promise, on this structure. And some dazzling design in the awning way over the door. So this was built by William Lipscomb as a residence of General Charles and Emma Fitzhugh following the design, etc., etc. It served as the temporary residence of Czechoslovakian legation, meaning what would become a embassy. And then it became a property of the Republic of the Philippines, 1941. So, let us take a really good look at these design elements. Absolutely beautiful. Wonderful. And this is where we'll end our tour today, right where we started. On Sheridan, whoops, careful. On Sheridan Circle and on 2 feet. Not flat on my back or face first. Now, over the last 2 weekends, we've looked at just 2 blocks in this area of many, many, many beautiful examples of architecture. On the corner here, this is where we began here at the residence of the ambassador from the Philippines. Again, the residence of the ambassador from Egypt. And when the video loads up later today, you can go back and learn all about all the buildings you missed, especially the French-inspired buildings across the way here. I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend ahead. Tommy, thanks for jumping in. Highlander, Ben, Mark, Beauty, sad Bears fan. No need to be a sad Bears fan. It's good to be a Bears fan. Everyone have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Join us for Film Club today on Stasis Geeks channel at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be talking about the 1980s film Inner Space. Bye-bye, everyone.